Most people are praying for change while living out of order. They want peace, but they put pressure first. They want provision, but they put people first. They want clarity, but they put control first. And then they wonder why life feels heavy. See, life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you prioritize. When God is first, decisions become clearer. When God is first, stress loses its grip. When God is first, you stop striving and start aligning. You were never designed to be the source, only the steward. And the moment you stop trying to hold everything together, God steps in and begins to order what you couldn't fix on your own. Put God first and watch everything else fall into alignment. Most people think their problem is lack. Lack of money, lack of time, lack of opportunity, lack of peace. But lack is rarely the real issue. The real issue is order. Because whenever something is out of order, it can't function the way it was designed to function. You can have all the right pieces, all the right intentions, even all the right prayers, but if the order is wrong, the outcome will always be off. Think about this. You don't fix chaos by working harder. You fix chaos by restoring order. And order is not about doing more things. It's about putting first things first. Life is a system, and every system responds to hierarchy. Whatever you put at the top silently governs everything underneath it. That's why when God is not first, something else automatically takes his place. Career, money, people, fear, ego, control. And whatever replaces God becomes the driver of your decisions. Here's what most people don't realize. Disorder doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up subtly. It shows up as stress you can't explain. It shows up as being busy but unfulfilled. It shows up as progress without peace. You're moving, but you're not aligned. You're active, but you're not centered. And the reason is simple. You're asking God to bless a life he's not leading. Order determines outcome. Always has, always will. In creation, nothing functioned until God established order. Light before life, structure before systems, purpose before provision. And your life works the exact same way. When God is first, clarity becomes normal. When God is first, decisions get lighter. When God is first, you stop reacting and start responding, because now your life isn't driven by pressure, it's directed by purpose. A lot of people want God involved, but they don't want him in charge. They want him as a consultant, not the CEO. They want him to co-sign their plans instead of authoring them. But alignment doesn't come from asking God to follow you. Alignment comes from choosing to follow him. And the moment you do that, everything else starts finding its place without you forcing it. See, disorder is expensive. It costs you peace. It costs you focus. It costs you relationships. It costs you momentum. And you keep paying that cost until you change the order, because heaven responds to order. Grace flows through order. Increase follows order. When God is first, you're no longer fighting life. You're flowing with it. That's why two people can work just as hard, pray the same prayers, even believe the same scriptures, and one experiences peace while the other experiences burnout. Same effort, different order. One put God at the center, the other put him on the schedule. And there's a difference between scheduling God and centering God. When he's scheduled, he gets leftovers. When he's centered, everything else rearranges around him. You don't have to chase balance when you have order. Balance is something people look for when priorities are unclear. But when God is first, balance becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. Your yes becomes stronger. Your no becomes easier. Your direction becomes clearer, because now your life has a reference point that doesn't move. Here's the freeing part. When God is first, you don't have to control outcomes. You just have to obey direction. You don't wake up anxious about how it's all going to work out, because you understand that order attracts outcomes you can't manufacture. You stop striving for alignment and start living from it. Most breakthroughs don't come from new information. They come from proper arrangement. Same life, same resources, same abilities, new order. And when the order changes, the results change. That's why putting God first isn't a religious statement, it's a strategic one. It's not about being spiritual, It's about being aligned. So if something feels off, don't immediately assume something is missing. Ask yourself what's misplaced, because the moment God goes back to first place, everything else knows where it belongs. Put God first, and alignment will do what effort never could. Most people are tired because they're chasing what was never meant to be chased. They're running after blessings, running after breakthroughs, running after open doors, wondering why it feels like the harder they pursue, the farther things seem to move away. But blessings don't respond to pursuit. Blessings respond to alignment. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you line up with. Think about it. You never see a shadow running ahead of a person. The shadow follows automatically when the position is right. In the same way, provision follows alignment. Favor follows alignment. Peace follows alignment. When God is first, blessings stop being something you hunt down and start becoming something that shows up right on time. Here's where many people get it twisted. They think effort is the answer to everything. So they grind harder, pray louder, stress longer, and call it faith. But faith isn't frantic. Faith is focused. Faith understands that when the source is right, the supply takes care of itself. When God is leading, you don't have to force doors open. Doors open because you're walking in the right direction. Chasing blessings creates exhaustion. Alignment creates ease. That doesn't mean there's no work. It means there's no waste. You're no longer pouring energy into things that aren't assigned to you. You're no longer saying yes to opportunities that look good, but pull you out of position. Alignment simplifies life. It doesn't make you lazy, it makes you accurate. A lot of people are busy doing good things, but missing God things. And good things can still distract you from the right thing. Just because something pays doesn't mean it's positioned. Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's purposeful. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's important. Alignment requires discernment, and discernment comes when God is first, not when he's convenient. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You can't skip alignment and expect acceleration. Speed without direction only gets you lost faster. And that's why some people see quick results but long-term frustration. They moved fast, but they moved wrong. When God is first, timing becomes a weapon. You learn when to move and when to wait, and waiting in alignment is never wasted time. Blessings know your address when you're aligned. You don't have to announce yourself. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to compete with others. Comparison fades when alignment is clear. You stop worrying about who's ahead of you because you realize you're not in a race. You're on an assignment. And assignments don't require competition. They require obedience. Alignment also protects you from counterfeit blessings. Some opportunities look like favor, but come with hidden costs. Your peace, your family, your integrity, your health. When God is first, you recognize the difference between an open door and a trap. Not every door that opens is sent. Some doors open to test whether you value alignment more than applause. And here's the beauty of it. When you're aligned, even opposition works for you. Detours don't derail you. Delays don't discourage you. Because you understand that alignment doesn't mean everything goes smoothly. It means everything is working together. You stop panicking when things slow down because you trust the process more than the pressure. The world teaches you to chase success. But chasing success makes you reactive. Alignment makes you responsive. One keeps you running, the other keeps you rooted. And when you're rooted, you grow without striving. Fruit shows up naturally when the root system is healthy. Nobody has to shake a tree to get fruit. It appears when the tree is planted in the right place. So if you've been exhausted, frustrated, or confused, don't ask for more strength. Ask for better alignment. Because when God leads, blessings follow. And when you stop chasing what God already promised to provide, you finally experience the peace of knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Align with God first and let the blessings catch up. Everything in life responds to honor. Not noise, not hustle, not self-promotion, honor. What you respect determines what responds to you. And most people don't realize they're not stuck because they lack talent or opportunity. They're stuck because they're out of alignment with honor. Honor isn't about words, it's about placement. Whatever you place highest in your life is what you truly honor, regardless of what you say. When you put God first, you're not just acknowledging his importance, you're establishing the order of honor. And honor has a way of circling back. What you honor, honors you back. That's why some people experience favor they didn't fight for, doors open they didn't knock on, help shows up they didn't advertise for. It's not luck, it's honor responding to alignment. A lot of people say they honor God, but their decisions tell a different story. They honor deadlines more than direction. They honor opinions more than obedience. They honor money more than mission. And then they wonder why peace feels distant. Honor isn't proven in church. It's proven in choices. It's proven in what you say yes to when nobody's watching. It's proven in what you refuse to compromise, even when it costs you something. Here's what's powerful. Honor attracts resources. People are drawn to those who live with reverence. Opportunities follow those who respect order. Even in the natural, we see it. Employees who honor leadership rise faster. Students who honor learning grow quicker. Relationships thrive where honor is present. Dishonor repels. Honor magnetizes. And when God is first, honor becomes the culture of your life. Most people want increase without reverence. They want overflow without obedience. But increase flows where honor lives. That's why gratitude multiplies what complaining diminishes. Complaining is dishonor. Gratitude is honor. And what you complain about shrinks. What you honor expands. If you want more of God's presence, you don't beg for it. You honor it. You make room for it. You prioritize it. Honor also protects you from arrogance, because when God is first, you understand that everything you have is a stewardship, not an entitlement. Your gifts aren't yours, they're entrusted. Your success isn't self-made, it's God-enabled. And that mindset keeps you grounded even when things are going well. Pride disconnects. Honor keeps the channel open. Here's another layer people miss. Honor is proactive, not reactive. You don't honor God after he blesses you. You honor him before. Honor isn't a response to provision. It's a posture that invites it. That's why honoring God first with your time, your attention, your obedience, your resources isn't loss, it's leverage. You're saying, I trust the source more than the supply. And when honor is present, correction doesn't offend you. Guidance doesn't threaten you because you value direction more than ego. People who lack honor resist instruction. People who live with honor welcome alignment. And alignment always produces growth. The more teachable you are, the more transferable God's wisdom becomes in your life. Some people plateau not because God stopped moving, but because honor stopped flowing. Familiarity replaced reverence. Convenience replaced commitment. And when honor fades, access fades with it. Not because God withdraws, but because attention shifted. Honor keeps your heart open. Dishonor hardens it. When you honor God, you also begin to honor people differently. You stop using relationships and start valuing them. You stop manipulating and start serving. Honor changes how you speak, how you listen, how you lead. And leadership rooted in honor always lasts longer than leadership rooted in ego. Here's the freeing truth. You don't have to demand respect when you live in honor. Respect shows up naturally, influence increases quietly, and favor follows without announcement. Because heaven responds to honor the same way gravity responds to weight. It's automatic. So if you're believing for increase, don't just ask for more. Check your honor. Not what you say you value, but what you actually prioritize. Because the moment God is honored first, life begins to honor you in ways you could never force. Honor God first and watch honor return to you multiplied. Most stress isn't coming from your schedule. It's coming from your position. It's the weight of trying to manage what you were never designed to carry. Stress shows up when self is at the center, when you're the planner, the protector, the provider, the problem solver, and the pressure holder all at once. Anxiety becomes inevitable. Not because you're weak, but because you're overloaded. See, stress is a signal. It's life telling you that responsibility has slipped into a role that belongs to God. You were created to steward, not to source. And the moment you start acting like the source, you start feeling the strain that only a source can handle. That's why stress increases when prayer decreases, when trust shrinks, and when control expands. Most people don't say they trust themselves more than God, but their behavior does. They pray and then panic. They ask God for guidance and then override it with worry. They say, God's in control, but live like everything depends on them. And that internal contradiction creates tension. You can't have peace while trying to play God in your own life. Self-centered living doesn't mean selfish living. It means self-managed living. It's when every outcome feels personal, every delay feels threatening, every obstacle feels overwhelming, because now it's on you, and anything that's on you will eventually wear you down. That's why stress isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. It's the symptom of misplaced leadership. When God is first, stress loses its authority, not because problems disappear, but because responsibility is reassigned. You still show up, you still work, you still plan, but you stop carrying outcomes. You stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You stop living in the future instead of trusting the present. Because now you understand that obedience is your assignment, results are God's responsibility. Here's the truth. Control feels safe until it exhausts you. Worry feels productive until it drains you. Anxiety feels responsible until it steals your sleep. And the reason stress is so addictive is because it gives the illusion of control. But control is counterfeit peace. It looks strong but leaves you empty. God never asked you to figure everything out. He asked you to follow. And following is lighter than figuring. Trust is lighter than striving. Surrender is lighter than stress. But surrender requires humility. It requires admitting that you don't have the capacity to manage life on your own. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom. When God is first, you stop waking up with pressure on your chest. You stop carrying conversations that haven't happened yet. You stop fighting battles before they arrive, because you realize that peace doesn't come from certainty, it comes from trust. And trust grows when God is no longer an option, but the foundation. Stress also reveals priorities. What you stress over is what you value most. And sometimes God allows stress to expose misalignment, not to punish you, but to redirect you, to show you where you've taken on too much, worried too long, or tried to control what needs to be surrendered. Here's the shift. When God is first, you don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you pray. You don't rush, you listen. And suddenly life slows down without losing momentum. You still move forward, but now you move with peace instead of pressure, with clarity instead of chaos. People who put God first don't live stress-free lives. They live stress-governed lives. Stress no longer leads. It no longer decides. It no longer dominates. It becomes a signal, not a state, a reminder to realign, not a place to live. And the beautiful part is this: when you release control, you don't lose power, you gain peace. You don't fall behind, you fall into rhythm. You don't become passive, you become positioned. Because now your life isn't driven by fear of failure, but guided by faith and direction. So if stress has been loud lately, don't just ask for relief, ask for realignment. Ask yourself who's been sitting at the center, because the moment God returns to first place, pressure lifts, clarity returns, and peace takes its rightful seat. Put God first and let peace do what control never could. A lot of people think that if God is leading, life should be easy. They assume alignment means absence of opposition, but that misunderstanding causes frustration. Because alignment doesn't eliminate resistance, it eliminates confusion. When God is first, you may still face challenges, but you'll never wonder why you're facing them. Ease is not the proof of direction, clarity is. And clarity is what most people are missing. They're tired not because life is hard, but because life is unclear. They don't know what to pursue, what to release, what to ignore, or what to endure. And when everything feels important, nothing feels peaceful. Alignment doesn't make life simple, it makes it specific. When God is first, difficulty becomes directional. Opposition stops feeling random, delays stop feeling personal. You understand that resistance is not a sign you're off track. It's often confirmation that you're moving forward, because anything of value attracts pressure. The difference is now the pressure doesn't scatter you, it strengthens you. Here's the powerful shift. When God is leading, confusion leaves. You don't second guess every decision. You don't replay every conversation. You don't wonder if you missed your moment. You move with intention, even when outcomes are uncertain, because direction doesn't require full visibility, just faithful obedience. A lot of people quit too early because they interpret difficulty as disapproval. But opposition is not rejection. It's refinement. It's resistance shaping resolve. And when God is first, you learn to read circumstances correctly. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this developing in me? Alignment gives you stamina. It keeps you moving when motivation fades. It anchors you when emotions fluctuate. Because now your commitment is rooted in calling, not convenience. You're not driven by feelings. You're driven by faith. And faith doesn't need everything to feel good. It needs everything to be aligned. When God is first, you don't panic in pressure, you pray in it, you don't abandon the process, you trust it, you don't demand quick outcomes, you value lasting ones, because direction matters more than speed, and speed without direction always leads to burnout. Think about this. A ship in a storm isn't saved by calm waters. It's saved by a steady compass. Alignment doesn't stop the storm. It keeps you on course through it. And when you know where you're headed, turbulence doesn't terrify you. It trains you. Confusion drains energy faster than difficulty ever could. Uncertainty exhausts the soul. But when God is first, your mind settles even when your situation hasn't changed yet. Because peace comes from knowing you're where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, even if it's hard. Alignment also helps you endure seasons without visible progress. You learn to stay planted when results are slow. You learn to remain faithful when applause is absent, because you understand that direction is more valuable than recognition. Growth is happening even when it's not showing. Here's what changes everything. When God is first, obedience becomes success. Not outcomes, not numbers, not approval, obedience. And that frees you. You stop measuring your life by comparison. You stop letting other people's timelines rush you. You stop doubting yourself every time something doesn't work out the way you expected. You're no longer asking, is this easy? You're asking, is this aligned? And that question changes everything, because what's aligned will last, what's aligned will mature, what's aligned will produce fruit in its season. So don't be discouraged by difficulty. Don't be distracted by resistance. Don't be shaken by delays. If God is first, you are directed. And a directed life is a powerful life. God first doesn't mean everything is easy. It means everything is purposeful. Everything in your life is being organized around something. Whether you realize it or not, there is a center that quietly governs your decisions, your emotions, your priorities, and your pace. The center is the reference point. It's what you return to when things get confusing. It's what you protect when things get demanding. And whatever sits at the center ends up setting the direction. A lot of people think they're undecided, but they're not. They're just centered on the wrong thing. Some are centered on money, so every decision is filtered through profit. Some are centered on people, so every choice is filtered through approval. Some are centered on fear, so every step is filtered through safety. And then they wonder why life keeps pulling them in directions they never intended to go. The center is powerful because it doesn't need permission. It influences automatically. You don't have to think about it. It's already deciding. That's why willpower eventually fails. You can't consistently override what's central. If God isn't at the center, something else will be, and that something else will quietly shape your future. When God is at the center, direction becomes natural. You don't force discipline, you develop desire. You don't chase purpose, you live it. because now your life has a fixed point that doesn't shift with emotion, pressure, or circumstance. The center holds when everything else shakes. Here's what most people don't see. Your habits reveal your center. Your calendar reveals your center. Your stress reveals your center. Whatever gets the first and best of you is what's really in the middle. And God can't be first in theory and last in practice. Centering God isn't about intention, it's about arrangement. When God moves to the center, margins adjust, relationships change, commitments shift. Some things naturally fall away, not because you tried to quit them, but because they no longer fit. Alignment doesn't require force, it requires focus. You stop rearranging your life around chaos and start organizing it around truth. The direction of your life is not determined by your goals. It's determined by your center. Goals are destinations. The center is the compass. And a compass doesn't need motivation. It just needs alignment. When God is first, your compass is steady. Even when you don't know the full path, you know you're headed the right way. That's why centering God simplifies decisions. You don't weigh everything equally anymore. You filter, you discern, you ask, does this move me closer to what I'm called to, or does it pull me away? And clarity replaces confusion because you finally have a standard that doesn't change. Centering God also stabilizes your emotions. When He's not in the middle, emotions run the show. One good day lifts you too high, one bad day drops you too low. But when God is central, emotions become indicators, not dictators. You feel them, but they don't lead you. Here's the freedom in this. When God is at the center, you don't fear missing out. You trust that what's for you will meet you on the path of obedience. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing the right ones, because the center determines what you pursue and what you pass by. People who live centered lives don't move faster, they move truer. They're not everywhere, they're where they're supposed to be. And that kind of life produces peace, not because it's perfect, but because it's aligned. The reason so many people feel scattered is because their center keeps shifting. One season, it's success. The next, it's survival. The next, it's validation. And every shift changes direction. But God doesn't shift, He remains constant. And when He's the center, your life stops drifting. So if you want a different direction, don't start with behavior. Start with the center. Don't just add God to your life. Build your life around Him, because whatever you center will control the flow. Put God at the center and let direction take care of itself.